Hey, it's Bobby. Welcome to Student of Intention, where we help you enjoy the pursuit of purpose. And remember, don't wait, start small, learn as you go. Hey everyone, welcome to Student of Intention. Bobby here in the Creative Palace on a just gorgeous Thursday afternoon. And impromptu show coming your way. I was in here doing a strategic session with the co-captain, Chris Decker, and we did what we tend to do, which is we said, you know what, we've got 40 minutes. Let's dive in. So, but we can't do that without setting intention. So Decker, I'm going to put you on the spot. Set an intention for the show.
Today's intention is to choose to believe in better, to believe in yourself, to believe in a force that is working for us and not against us.
Oh, love it. Love it. Right on the spot. Believe. Oh, man. Well, you know, if we're going to talk about belief, I came in prepared to actually do a quick solo pod, which we still have to do. I still need to cross that chasm myself. But what I wanted to start with was this lesson that keeps coming up, which is the beginning stage of living with intention. People seem to want to tell me it's thought, but I say no. I say it's action. And sure, you know, you have to plan to do something. You have to think about doing something before. But I argue that the experience itself, the journey itself, it just can't begin without that first step. You have to pull the ripcord, right? You have to jump into the pod. This pod experience itself right now did not happen until we pressed record, right? And then, you know, it will go as it's intended to do, right? It will go where it's intended to go. We will experience it the way we're, you know, intended to experience it. But I wanted to start with that, particularly because you said the word believe, and I actually would use a different word. I would use trust. And you have to just trust that little thought, that little idea, that little curiosity, that it means something, and it means enough for you to go follow. It means enough for you to take an action. It means enough for us to press record on this pod.
You know what happens before an action, Bobby?
What?
A decision.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
and I actually have a formula for this, is that the further away the action is from the actual decision, the less likely it is to happen. And so have you ever just been on a long walk, or you've been doing something in your life and you make this sort of decision? I'm going to do this. This feels right. This is what's next for me. I dare you to take a note or to take an immediate action. If you've got your phone, you've been thinking, I need to send them an I'm sorry text, call them right now and do it. The further away the action is from the decision, the less likely it is to happen. So you might as well do it immediately.
Got it. Well, yeah, the mantra comes in handy here. Don't wait, start small.
Don't wait.
Learn as you go. Okay, I like that. So you're saying if the thought or the decision is away from the action, minutes, hours, days, the chances of it.
Strike while the iron's hot.
That's right.
It's January 1st. You want to get into shape. Go get the gym membership. Don't just get the membership. Go and do it. Don't post about it on Facebook. Get 100 likes and 40 comments about how great it is that you're going to start working out, because you gave yourself the dopamine hit in advance. That's meant for after the hard work, not before. You know, they don't post about your accomplishments before they happen. Like, go do the hard work. Do the actions.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take a softer approach. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, I think you can do two things to sort of lessen the potential that we don't take that action.
Right.
One, make it really small, right? And B, you don't have to commit to any sort of consistency, right? Like for this solo podcast that I've been delaying and continue to delay, I'm tempted to sort of make a series out of it. No. I'm just going to go do one and sort of see what happens, right? I think that there's an element that's often missed to the discovery side of action, the just curiosity side of action, the just trying to figure out what that feels like, without expectation, right? Like you even brought up, somebody wants to get in shape. Okay. Well, what about just the innocent, walk outside, or the innocent morning run, or the innocent, healthy meal, just once, sort of uninhibited, without expectation.
Yeah.
I want to invite the listener to, if you got any of those things out there, right? Like maybe go at that action with that in mind, as opposed to, those expectations can scare us away a little bit.
I thank you. I put one of these in practice recently, and it's definitely been inspired by our conversations, because we're having these conversations all the time. Therefore, it's inspiring my life. Like, I am a walking student of intention, right?
Very simple.
It is what it is. I can't help it. I got a client. She lives in Marina Del Rey, Coya Webb. She asked me, could you come film an on-location podcast interview in my home? We're doing A-list guests. I'm like, oh my God, I got to pack my car full of stuff. Like, oh my God, I'm going to be there once a week, and it's going to be traffic. It's going to be arduous, and this is going to suck. Whoa, buddy, back up. I've never even tried it. I've never even tried it. You know what? I said, I will try this once at my own expense to see how it goes. And then we can work together moving forward, or I can recommend you to someone who can take care of it. But I want the experience at least once, because I don't know. I don't know where that could go. And that's part of the adventure of it.
So I want to ask you a follow-up question. So you did this. When did you do this?
It's coming up.
Oh, it's coming up.
October 6th.
Oh, you haven't done it yet. All right.
But I caught myself going down this rabbit hole of all the if, could, shoulds, right. and this negative chatter. I'm like, no, back up. I didn't don't wait, start small, learn as I go. I went full throttle in my mind, in my simulation. No, one step. You know what? It could be a great experience. I rented some nice cameras. I got some nice light that's coming. I'm going to get a high quality recording. I'm going to blow their minds with what's possible. You know what? I'm going to embrace one time the experience. One time. That's all I'm being asked for, is to try it once. And I might as well put my heart into it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's new, it's different. Don't narrow the experience by your expectations.
Because if I have those sort of crappy expectations going into it, it's going to dictate the way I behave and act while I'm in the motion of it, therefore guaranteeing that it's like not successful. Or if I let it be in its own just sort of bucket, like, oh, it's just one time, what could be the coolest version of this that I could pull off in a week and a half of preparation? What's the coolest version of that? What if it was successful, and I met Jay Shetty and like, it just the next thing and the next thing and the next, like, what if?
Yeah. And I mean, this doesn't go away, this conundrum of expectation, this conundrum of resistance, and trying to act, even after recording this podcast and writing the newsletter about, being a student of intention for 9 months, I still find myself going through this dilemma on a daily basis and on the smallest of things, right? We talk about morning pages all the time, and it's still a journaling action that I take every morning. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that every morning when I wake up, I don't sort of think about the pain of journaling for 3 pages. Like, as soon as I wake up, I have this moment of mental volleyball where I'm like, man, this bed's really comfy. I don't really want to get up and start writing, because it's, who knows if the words are going to come, or how long it's going to take to get going, or how long it's going to take to finish, right? Like, these rapid fire thoughts come into my mind. And then the only thing that cures it is actually putting pen to paper. As soon as I put pen to paper, the tension of expectation just just bleeds out.
Can I give you an extreme example that happened with a client of mine recently? I won't use their name because I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but they started off their show hot. Best guess you can imagine. They're on fire. They're doing great. Like it's working. Life got in the way. Then got sort of a renewed sense, started a second show with his wife. Some things like just didn't go exactly as planned. Life got in the way. 6 months went by. 6 months went by. I decide, you know what? I'm going to check in, just take the temperature here. How's it going? You know, you want to pick these things back up. How's your life?
6 months go by without him returning to the show.
Paused.
Wow.
Paused. I do a little simple follow-up. Hey man, how's everything going? Just, you know, do you want to pick this thing back up? Responds instantly, books a time. We get on the call. He's like, I have wanted to do this so badly, but like just life has been so busy. This is like, and he's like, I just got this voice in the back of my head saying, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. And was just laying it on thick with just the sort of self-beating up of like they hadn't done the action. And I just point blank said, that feeling will never go away until you do it again. And I asked him, what are the things that were preventing you from doing it? Well, it was hard to set the recording time and to get the guest, and like the camera wasn't working quite right. And a few things, we're able to tweak a few things. All of a sudden you could see 1,000 pounds lift off his shoulders. He's like, you know what? This is possible. I can do this. And I do this to myself all the time. There's things I know I should do, but I'm like, I'm held back by these things, this resistance with a capital R.
Mm-hmm. As my man Pressfield would say. Yeah, dude, it knows no bounds. I just went through that this week. As you know, The 5 Buckets is out. The book is live on Amazon. Go to studentofintention.com, please. Awesome. Order your copy. It's the framework in the book that really started this whole journey. Certainly catalyzed this podcast, but my publisher had emailed me a book contest, an indie book contest that he thought I should apply for in the inspirational, motivational category. And this was maybe 3 weeks ago. And because it's just something different and something, I guess, foreign, as soon as I went to the website and I see the form and they're asking for like chapter by chapter outlines and uploading of PDFs and, you know, just little like bios, right. and it was just enough like unfamiliarity and resistance that I just was like, no, I'm going to go put this to the side, go back to consulting work, go back to, you know, journaling, writing, whatever.
I had one of these. Well,
hold on. So,
okay.
So sure enough, I finally, you know, I made this big deal out of it, and it's something I knew I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I have a book and my publisher says, go apply for this contest. Like, I'll be damned if I don't apply for that contest.
Right.
And then, so I finally took my action. I finally sit the fuck down and work through it. And it's really not arduous at all. It took me probably 25 minutes. And the cool thing is I have this now, apparently they make it very clear in the application process that chapter by chapter outlines are sort of a go-to for these type of things. Yeah. So now I have one that I can use for any other future needs or, you know, contests, etc.
And I have one that's a little bit similar.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I get this email. We have active outbound emails going for like getting myself and my co-founder booked on shows. One show, not a particularly good fit for my co-founder, Colin. He forwards it to me, and this person saying, hey, it didn't really seem like you were a fit, Colin, because here's the requirements of our show. Like, our team puts in 40 plus hours of filming and editing and research and preparation. Like, this is a highly produced show, and like, we're very specific about it. And if we're going to make that investment, we need to make sure that the person has a deeply transformative story. And by the way, we only film in Austin, Texas. Talk about like different. I get the email. I actually meet exactly who they're looking for from a story perspective. I have that story. The only missing ingredient was sort of the chutzpah to say that I'm worth 40 hours of time and a flight to Austin. You know what? I replied back and I said yes to all the requirements. Do you know how cool it would be if I don't know the outcome to have something planned in Austin, this totally intentional experience where I'm supposed to craft that story? Do you know what kind of process I'm going to go through to think of what that story needs to become? The refinement, the travel, the getting there, the journey. I show up, be there, the people I meet, the experiences I get, the person I meet at the coffee shop, like all these things. Like, could you imagine if I were to say no to that? Absolutely not. That's not the life I want. I want to say yes to that. So why am I held back by these crazy things? Like, like this dream opportunity, like, oh, you know, resistance gets in the way. That's ridiculous, man. I want to push through that.
No, absolutely. Well, are you going to?
I replied back, said yes to all those things, waiting for a response. I decided that I wanted to at least try. I wanted to try. Versus deleting it instantly, which is what I would have done. I would have just said, you know what? I don't know. You know, whatever. Too much work to do. No, you know what? It took 30 seconds to reply to this email. It wasn't a big deal. I might do a follow-up. I might send a video. You know, like if I took, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes to make a heartfelt video, share my story on that, thank them for the consideration, send it. You know, I could decide never to follow up again, or I could be friendly and genuine and authentic with my follow-up, deliver value, you know, figure out their address, send them something. You know, like there's so much more that could be done in pursuit of this opportunity that just doesn't exist if I'm just so limited in my worldview of like things are just here. No, everything's expansive.
That's right. Yeah, what did I had a thought the other day about inertia, that it's kind of deceptive comfort. You know, it's you know, sure you know, no change or no shift feels comfortable,
right?
But that doesn't make it right. You know, that doesn't make it. It's certainly not expansive. That's for sure. So. Yeah, man. I mean, and I really like how you thought through the entire experience. Although, again, that, you know, dangerous putting in expectations, I think, when you think through it that much. But we'll leave that.
Just trying to write a poem on the spot. You know, it's not perfect.
No, I love it. I love it, and that's sort of the second we'll call it a lesson that I'm bringing into today's show, which by the way. You know, I think that's why the name Student of Intention still rings true. I want, you know, it's easy to think of yourself as a teacher and an instructor on so many things. It's much harder, and I think much more fulfilling to think of yourself as a student. And for this podcast, if you take nothing else from this show, just take that Chris and I are here to share what we're going through. And if it helps you take a little bit more action or enjoy an experience or overcome some resistance, that's really what this thing is here for. So the other thought that I've had recently, the other lesson I should say, is this idea of depth. Depth is the word of choice. I don't know if it's the right word, but it's the one that keeps coming to mind. And I think about depth with regards to our experiences, with regards to our moments. You know, when you started describing the different ways that you might experience going to Austin, and, you know, even the little things, right? Like the time in the airport alone, right? These are things you're going to do either way, right? If you make this commitment, you know you're going to be in an airport, you know you're going to be on a plane, you know you're going to be in a waiting room somewhere, a hotel. Like, once you commit to an action, once you take that action, big, small, or otherwise, you're there, you're invested. And the only way you can increase the value of that experience is with depth is with really being intentional in that moment, taking in, I think one hack to depth is using the senses, right? When you're at the airport, not just being lost in thought, but taking in the sights, taking in the sounds, taking in the smells, right? Getting something to eat, taking in the tastes, right? These are how you can sort of add presence and depth to your moments. And of course, in a situation like that, it's really important because you've invested a ton of time, energy in travel. But in order to prepare for those, we'll call them high stakes experiences where they take so much time, energy, and effort, I would welcome people, and this is something I do myself, is to practice depth in the more mundane moments. The drives to work, the cups of coffee, when you do a lot of podcasts, the podcasts themselves.
I got a little bit of a story for that. Oh man, this came in through a LinkedIn comment. Someone commented my name on a post where someone was looking for a podcasting company.
Nice.
Good friend. And I immediately messaged that person. I say, I'm interested in talking to you. Just saying yes to opportunity. Just saying yes. Like takes me 2 seconds to send a DM. I'm going to send the guy a DM. All right. One of the first people on the post. Boom, sends me his calendar link. We were scheduled. This guy interviewed 50 firms. 50 firms. We were the third call.
It's a lot.
Third call. But we got on the call. I didn't really know who the guy was. Had no idea like exactly who he was. I'd heard of his company. They're like a very famous book publisher. I'm going to leave some names of things out just to protect anonymity here. But I just decided to just turn off my brain and just speak from the heart, speak passionately. My co-founder and I just speaking about what we do and why we do it. He said, okay, we're going to, I'll get back to you. We're going to do another round. And so I guess I didn't ever really expect to hear back from the guy. Boom. Heard back from him. We were in the top 5. Okay. Get on another conversation. We're doing due diligence. He tells me he literally okay, they're no longer just trying to find a partner. They want to acquire a company. And I'm knowing full well, we're not really in a stage to be acquired, but my co-founder and I said, we're going to say yes to this experience and this journey just because. So we submit all the paperwork, we prepare the projections, all the things that they're looking for, like the Stripe screenshot, prove that there's money in the bank, things like that. And then we get to the final 2. And we get on a conversation. I knew who was going to be on the call. One of them was the CEO, and then the 2 other co-founders of this company. They're seriously considering buying our company. It could change everything. I read the CEO's book the night before. I learned everything about their story. This high stakes situation that you're talking about, the level of preparation and sort of this journey to get ready for it, and then to have that moment and to hear from them, look, whether or not we purchase your company, I want to say that you two are going to succeed. It's because of your story. And that sort of approval moment that I don't know, it all just came together so beautifully. Long story short is the deal didn't happen, but the journey changed everything. Everything. But along the way, if I had just said, oh, you know what, that seems too hard, nope, next, and did not go down the path, I would have never experienced that gold in that conversation that was so validating to the soul. It was so validating to the soul. You can't put a price tag on it. It was worth more than they would have paid us. You know what I mean? Hopefully that means something to someone listening, but this was real. This happened. And yeah.
No, man. I mean, I'm aware of that conversation, and, my take from it is that you gave yourself the opportunity to experience it fully through that preparation, which is another piece. I think that's sort of again, a depth hack is, we have to take the action, right? We have to lean past resistance into doing whatever it is that we're inspired to do, whatever we're curious to do, whoever we want to meet, etc. And then if we want to get the most out of these moments, one way of doing that is preparation. So it's great. It's great you did that.
I toiled over this preparation, Bobby. Read the book, was like practicing what I'm going to say, like praying fervorously, journaling about it. I think because this was right in the middle of Artist's Way. And so I had the 3 pages a day. And so I have a rich documentation of every single thing I felt during those moments. I have a recording of the call. Dude, I have this snapshot of such a pivotal moment because of those pages. I know everything that happened, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. And
Yeah.
one, what'd you learn? And the second, well, I'll start with that one. What'd you learn?
I learned that our story and our why is the most valuable thing that we can bring to the market. The most valuable thing that we can do in our jobs, that I can do in my job, my purpose, the way I serve people, the story, and those things, because that's what was valued more than a cap table amongst basically the podcast industry, the industry. And I don't know whether or not it's right. That was what I learned, and that was the insight gleaned. And maybe that's just this step of the journey of where I need to be today. But I'm going to run with it.
That's good. That's good. No, definitely run with it. Well, the other question was what helped you?
Morning pages, bro. I could not have gotten through that experience with my sanity without morning pages. Normally it would have, I just would have been a wreck, but I was less of a wreck because of those pages. Julia Cameron, man, just changing lives every day.
That's great. Maybe your partner too.
My wife talked me off several ledges. My business partner, we stayed even keeled. You know what it did get us to do? Is we had to ask ourselves, what's the price? What is our number? And what do we want in life? And we asked ourselves, we got to ask those questions. Had we never said yes to those things, we wouldn't have gotten to ask those extremely life-changing, pivotal questions of, why do you want to do this business? What do you want in life? What do you hope to achieve? And what's your number? Simple questions. How many people are asking them? You know? Anyhow, I digress.
Really lit up today, bro. I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing this in my own life right now. I'm preparing for a half Ironman. It's almost 30 days to the date, and I'm finding more and more my real drive for training is that I want to be able to experience the race fully. I want to be able to experience it not in pain as much as, who knows, that may be inevitable, but I want to experience it as my best self in that moment. I want to be able to swim confidently. I want to be able to ride, all 54 miles or however many it is, with good pace, with good breath, sort of with pleasure, if I can even say that about a 70-mile race. And then same thing with that last 13-mile run. Like I want to be able to take in the signs. I want to be able, or the sights, I should say. I want to be able to, cross the finish line out of joy and not out of just absolute death and exhaustion, which, who knows, maybe that's asking a bit much, but that's really what's driving my preparation and training. No,
sir. Joy is possible even in the deepest pits of despair. Joy is possible. Joy, man, this one is a hard lesson to learn, but joy has been in your pocket the whole time, even when it's hard. Joy's right there. Joy's right there. I'm telling you. You can pull it right out anytime. Even when someone's beating the crap out of you, you can be joyful. You can choose to understand that this experience means something for the greater good. You have that decision. So whether or not you limp across that finish line or you sprint across it with a big silly grin on your face, you can be joyous and appreciate it no matter what state you're in when you cross that. Seriously.
I mean, I'll go there with you. I'll go there with you. And at the same time, I think it's okay to acknowledge it's maybe easier to choose joy if we're more prepared. Right. And maybe to a different degree.
It depends what you're visualizing. I'll tell you this. If you visualize yourself limping over that finish line 30 days out, that's going to impact the rest of your training. You may run one less mile. You may push a little less hard on your bike because you've already accepted defeat. Or you can choose to visualize that big old smile on your face on the finish line. That's going to impact the training that you do. You're going to go one extra mile, push a little bit harder on the bike, smile a little bit more, that you have a life that gives you the freedom and flexibility to train for a half Ironman, and like you can pay your rent and you have food on the table. Like that is awesome.
It is.
That's a privilege. Before I did my first race, someone gave me the best advice I've ever heard because I was going to fly to Hawaii the following week to go do the race. He said, just the fact that you got to this point and you're about to go do that and you're going to spend time with your family in Hawaii and do this race and you maintained your work and like there's food on your table, you already won. You already won. And to me, that was an invitation that it wasn't just a race. It was everything that led up to it. You know what I mean? These things are triathlons, like they change something because they require a lot of hard work, a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's maybe more than I bargained for. I said yes nonchalantly. A friend of mine, Ryan, has had his second child maybe 8 months ago.
Right.
And he's done several triathlons, even a few half Ironmans, and he essentially said to me after a big run, like, dude, I want to do one. I kind of need this, and I need a person to go with me and basically push me over the edge, to book it and say yes. And I was like, I'll be that person for sure.
Awesome. And
hadn't thought much about the distance. And the more and more I train, the more and more I'm like, it's actually pretty sizable.
But you just put a perfect segue into this concept of accountability. Without knowing that he's doing it, would you really have been propelled as much as you have been? I argue no. I argue no. Therefore, this concept of accountability, doing things with people, is just as much important as would you say that fits more in like discovery? Does that fit more in alignment? This whole concept of doing these things with people, or is accountability just kind of doing life with others because it's just better?
Well, no, I mean, alignment for sure. I mean, it goes back to the same question I asked you about, about your conversation with, that company we won't speak of, but I asked you what helped you, right? And what helped you was not only, the morning pages, but it was your partnership with your wife, partnership with Colin. And
well, number one was partnership with God. And then it was like the morning pages, and then the rest of the.
Well, I'm only sharing what you spoke of. So if you left out the God, that's on you, bro. But but yeah. So yeah, in this scenario, like I think it's twofold. Ryan definitely helped push me over to making the commitment.
Right.
And then now, even this weekend, actually, so we're going out to La Quinta this weekend.
Okay, cool. You get to visualize it, see everything.
Well, yeah, we're doing a little practice run.
Awesome.
So we're going out there, jumping in the lake, riding the bike, doing the run. Just gonna do a little miniature test run. So he'll definitely be a reason why I ultimately finish, and one of the big things that helps me.
You know what I like a lot
What?
You thought of the concept for all of this like a little bit over a year ago, and now you've not only like have the book out, and you've now gone through so many sort of like laps with doing the podcast and the newsletter and the LinkedIn content and the conversations and the people, and you tried to do a leadership group, and you're probably going to do it again in a community. And right now you're like stress testing all of these principles to their absolute maximum, so that you're like in the R&D lab, the student of intention R&D lab with a white coat, you know, like blowing stuff up so that the rest of us don't have to make these mistakes.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, dude, even action discovery.
You're crushing it, dude. You're crushing it.
Dude, you are
crushing life.
Losing it. I love it.
You're crushing life.
No, I'm enjoying life, man.
Awesome. Yeah. That's true.
That's what I'm doing. So, man, I think we landed this plane. Let's call it.
Cool, man. Well, I just want to remind the listener that today's intention was belief. Like, you have a choice. You really do. You have a choice. Could this big Austin thing, you know, fly there, do the interview, high stakes, prepare? Could that be something amazing and life-changing? Or am I not even worth replying to the email? It's your choice. Choose to believe.
Hey, it's Bobby. Thanks for listening to today's show. For more, follow Student of Intention at www.studentofintention.com. And remember, don't wait, start small, learn as you go.